Nowhere to Call Home by Cynthia DeFelice. Chapter 3. Mr. Fletcher handed Frances a train ticket, saying that the train would leave at 8:40 the following morning and arrive in Chicago at 7:20 the morning after that. Her aunt had reserved a compartment for her, he explained, which meant she had a private room with a window and her own sink and toilet. Furthermore, Mr. Fletcher went on, a cab would arrive at 8 o'clock in the morning to take her to Broad Street Station. He gave her two $5 bills, which he said was more than enough for food on the train and for her cab fare, and a piece of paper with her aunt's address and telephone number, which he told her to carry with her just in case. He advised her to take no more than a few days' clothing, saying that the rest would be shipped to her aunt's house. He reminded her again that she was to take clothing and personal items only, and that the bank owned everything else. When he left, Frances went to her room to pack, but found herself wandering from the closet to the dresser and back again, without touching a thing. She didn't know what to take to Chicago. She didn't care what she took to Chicago. She didn't want to take anything to Chicago because she did not want to go to Chicago. Feeling angry and helpless, Frances pulled a few items of clothing from her closet. Mr. Fletcher could go ahead and sell the rest of her clothes, but she wanted her books. Carefully she chose 4 of her favorites: The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, the Uncle Remus stories, The Call of the Wild, and Great Expectations. What, she wondered, counted as personal items? How humiliating to imagine Mr. Fletcher accusing her of stealing her own things. On top of her dresser was a matched set, a hand mirror, a tortoiseshell comb, and a brush, all with silver handles engraved with her initials, F.E.B. She had never thought about the value of her possessions before. She supposed the set was worth a lot of money, and wondered if Mr. Fletcher meant for her to leave it behind so he could sell it. Also engraved with her initials was a small sewing box that contained a silver thimble, needles, and a tiny pair of scissors. Defiantly, she placed the mirror, comb, brush, and sewing kit in the pile on her bed. Miss Bailey came to the bedroom door then. The housekeeper's face looked funny, blotched and puffy, and her eyes were red. But Frances was too full of her own misery to pay much attention. "I thought you could use this to pack your things in, Miss Frances," Mrs. Bailey said, handing Frances a soft carpet bag with a leather handle and a brass buckle. "We'll be having luncheon now," she added quietly. "Will you join us in the kitchen?" "Oh, yes, Miss Bailey, thank you," said Frances, quickly stuffing her clothing, books, and other possessions into the bag. It had long been her habit, when Father was away, to eat in the kitchen with the servants, not knowing whether or not Father would approve, and suspecting that he wouldn't. No one had ever mentioned this arrangement to him. Frances always enjoyed those meals in the big, warm kitchen, along with the food, where there was laughter and friendly teasing, and best of all, music. While Mary did the washing up, Junius played the harmonica, and Bridget sang the ballads and folk songs of her native Ireland. Sometimes in the evenings, after the dishes were done, they went into the parlor and gathered around the piano to listen to Frances play. She had been taking piano lessons for 6 years, and Miss Moyer, her teacher, said she had talent and a natural ear. Frances loved playing the piano, and oh, how she loved to listen to Junius play the harmonica. Once she said she wished she could play like that, and he had insisted. "Why, there's nothing to it, Miss Frankie. With all the piano playing you do, you could pick up on the mouth organ in no time." When Frances had asked Father for a harmonica of her own, he had told her it was a common instrument, not suitable for a young lady. But one evening Junius had surprised her, holding out his hand and saying, "Go on, open it." She pried open his fingers and found a harmonica, and he had been right. She quickly learned to play it. Before long, she and Junius were playing duets, always, of course, on evenings when Father was away. Frances entered the kitchen with Miss Bailey, and it was clear there would be no music made that day. The meal was a quiet, solemn affair. Bridget talked about trying to save a wee bit of money so she could return to Ireland. Mary said she dreaded seeing the look on her mother's face when she came back home. "Mum's got 7 little ones still. She needs my wages, not my mouth to feed." Gordon and Miss Bailey discussed the chances of finding a post where they could work together. After a long silence, Junius spoke softly. "Me, I'm going to ride the rails," he said. "Jump me a train and go where it takes me. Gotta be better someplace else. Can't be worse than here." Miss Bailey looked shocked. "Junius Washington, you are not going to become a bum." Junius smiled wryly. "Not a bum, Miss Bailey. A beau." Miss Bailey looked at him questioningly. "A hobo," Junius explained. "A hobo, a tramp, a bum. What's the difference?" Miss Bailey said with a sniff of disdain. "And what's more, you're far too old to be hopping into boxcars and riding around the countryside begging for food." "Now that is precisely the difference between a hobo and a bum," Junius said with a quiet smile. "A bum gives an honest beau a bad name." A bum begs and steals and drinks wine and whiskey until he can't see straight. He's shiftless, you see, but a beau, he's a man of honor. Sure, he'll hop a freight, but... Until then, Frances had only listened, but now she looked up eagerly and asked, "What do you mean, hop a freight?" "Why, Frankie, a tramp's gotta get from place to place. He's looking for work. He's got no home. So he might jump aboard a freight train without paying. He doesn't hurt anybody. He just takes himself a free ride. And when he comes to a town and knocks on your door, it's not to beg something from you, but to see what he can do to earn his supper." "You've worked here almost your whole life, Junius. How is it you know so much about tramps?" asked Mary. "Oh, they come through now and again, and I talk to 'em," said Junius. "I listen and try to imagine what it would be like, going wherever you please, sleeping out under the stars, free as the wind blowing past your face. Now that I got no work and no home, I've been thinking hoboing something I ought to try." Frances, too, tried to picture what it would be like to go wherever and do whatever she pleased. She imagined sleeping out under the stars, free as the wind. She wouldn't have to go to Aunt Bushnell's or anywhere else she didn't want to go. "I'd like to try hoboing, too," she said eagerly. "Miss Frances, the very idea!" exclaimed Miss Bailey. Junius let out a deep, warm laugh. "Oh, Miss Frankie, that's no kind of life for a young lady such as you, no, sir." "But why not, Junius?" Frances asked. When Junius didn't answer right away, she said, "Is it because you don't think I can work?" She felt wounded. Did Junius think she was, what was the word, shiftless? "I can work as hard as anybody. I know I can." Junius chuckled. "Miss Frankie, I have no doubt you can do whatever you set your mind to." "Don't be encouraging her, Junius," said Gordon. "It's a foolish enough thing for you to be thinking of. Tramping is out of the question for Miss Frances." "But why is it out of the question?" insisted Frances. "The world is a dangerous place for young ladies," said Miss Bailey, in an ominous tone. "And that's all we need to say about that," she added firmly. Frances recognized the look on Miss Bailey's face. It said that the matter was settled and there would be no further discussion. Frances had even seen Father submit to the will behind that look. But why? She thought with frustration. Why were so many interesting things deemed unsuitable for young ladies? And what was so dangerous about a girl riding the rails that Miss Bailey wouldn't even talk about it?